So, you didn't make it through the tournament that you wanted to make it through in speed duels. Or you're tired of playing on Duel Book against the same 3-4 decks. So, why should you continue to play speed duels right now? Well, it's pretty simple, honestly. And has to do with one card. One single card that's going to make a difference for, what? 3-4 months? Of course, I'm talking about Jinzo. Kevin, we're not getting Jinzo till November. Well, if you haven't heard, Europe is getting Jinzo for another one of their Trials of the Pharaoh, I believe is what it's called. I don't remember exactly. However, they're getting Jinzo for speed duels a few months ahead of everywhere else for the TCG, which is ridiculous. We're not going to go into that. We are going to go into, however, how important this card's going to be, what decks you can play to maybe counteract it, or to play with. It's pretty simple, honestly. However, it's not going to be legal in card form for everywhere except for Europe. But, with that being said, it will be legal on Dueling Book. Dueling Book being the main place everybody's playing right now. Especially if you're in, well, the Americas. But with that being said, what is Jinzo? What does it do? How do you play it? How do you play against it? What are we going to be seeing? Well, if you didn't know, this is Jinzo, okay? Jinzo says that any trap cards that are on the field are negated and trap cards can't be activated. So it's taking care of all traps in the field. However, we'll get into how we can maybe get around this with some other cards, right? It's level 6, requires 1 tribute, which is really nice. 2400 attack, really, really cool to see. And it's dark, and it's a machine. Both of those factors come into why this card is important very early on when analyzing it. First thing you'll probably notice here is that it is machine, right? So it's going to go into a lot of Spellproof Armor decks. If you don't know what Spellproof Armor is, here it is. Spellproof Armor basically says, hey, while you control machine monsters, and there are no other monsters in the graveyard other than machines, all your machine monsters are unaffected by your opponent's spell cards. Pretty nice. And all your normal monsters are 1 less tribute cost. So if you have a level 5 or 6 monster, it's a free null sum. If you have a level 7 higher monster, it's a 1 tribute cost. Thankfully, this doesn't affect Jinzo because it is an effect monster. We don't want to see free summon Jinzos running around, so thankfully that's not a thing. But if we're playing this in Spellproof Armor decks and you get a Jinzo out while having the Spellproof Armor card actually, a skill actually, activated face up, your opponent's spells and traps are kind of just useless. We're going to talk about how to circumvent this later, but for the most part, they're useless. You're not going to get offerings to the doomed or any of the other spell card removal. You're not going to get Zomad. You're not going to get Nightmare Wield. Really, really nice overall. One downside about Jinzo though is that it does kind of, unfortunately, make sure that you can't use traps either. Again, we're going to talk about how to circumvent this in a minute, but we'll get more into it in a minute. The other thing, like I said, you'll notice about this deck is that it is a dark monster, so things like Allure of Darkness, a million times better. If you're already playing certain decks like Dark Moth, who are already running dark monsters, replacing Gap for Jinzo is such an easy thing to do. Yes, you turn off your own traps, again, Nightmare Wheel, Zomas, but you're turning off your opponents as well. That's rough. So, no more burn, at least, right? No more burn. I'm sad about that, but no more burn. With that being said, though, what becomes good? Well, Spellproof Armor still becomes good, but it does have the problem of a lot of things. Let's start from the top, obviously. Dark Moth. You can get Parasite Paranoided with the Cocoon skill. Easy removal for a Jinzo. So Again, Dark Moth being really unfazed by this, only adding another weapon into their arsenal. Ridiculous. I guess we'll have to wait till November to see if Dark Moth dies, but for now, obviously Jinzo can die to the Parasite combo. After that, one of the biggest ones that came into my mind, at least, had to be Hidden Parasite, another Weevil skill. If you don't know what Hidden Parasite is, there it is. And what Hidden Parasite says is change all monsters on the field to insects, and then for the rest of the turn, your opponent takes half the damage that they would normally take. Okay, combining this with the Eradicating Aerosol, it's an easy way to clear monsters off a board. With Dark Moth running around, it becomes even more apparent to actually want to use this, especially just to get rid of the moths themselves. Is it worth it? Actually, yeah, kind of, because it is such a great massive monster removal, and it is twice per duel, so you are able to actually use this very effectively. I don't know how many people are going to be running 3 Jinzos when it comes to Spellproof Armor, but if they are, okay. If not, and they're only running 2, and you are able to Eradicating Aerosol both of them, great, right? Here's the other thing. When people see the Spellproof Armor, they say, but Kevin, machines are unaffected by spell cards, your opponent's spell cards. Eradicating Aerosol won't do anything. That's, again, another ruling thing, where Hidden Parasite is going to change Jinzo into an insect monster, so it's no longer protected by the Spellproof Armor. So it's susceptible to that, tribute to the Doom offerings, all things like that. Which is good, which is really good. Hopefully we'll see the rise of things like Amazon's Swordswoman more, just to deal some damage out as well. Half shut along with that, hopefully. If not, oh well, but hopefully we see something like that. My hair's not cooperating. There's one strand that doesn't want to cooperate right now. Aside from my own problems, what else can we see? Funny enough, I imagine seeing something like Blue Eyes make an interesting reemergence. Especially if more people start playing Jinzo with Spellproof Armor. We could probably see more Blue Eyes, just raw attack power, being able to beat over a Jinzo is really nice. And then the protection as well against other decks that are going to be using traps too. Really, really nice. And even then, as funny as it sounds, maybe even seeing Jinzo being played in Blue Eyes, just for that extra added protection. As stupid as it sounds, maybe summoning 2 Blue Eyes, having the Lord of Dion field, and then maybe next turn, as dumb as it sounds, maybe tributing a Blue Eyes for Jinzo. The possibilities are pretty endless right now. But there is one thing that people are talking about, and that's kind of like removing a majority of the traps that they play. Obviously Moth doesn't have this problem. Again, it can remove Jinzos pretty easily and keep its traps as well. However, a lot of people, especially burn players like myself, are basically saying, yeah, it's done. We can't play burn anymore. And for the most part, yeah, I agree with that. We have to move on to other decks, but it doesn't mean we have to stop playing traps. Because we do have traps that activate in the graveyard, like Security Orb, and what's the other one? Wild Tornado activates in the graveyard. But Kevin, how are you going to activate these? How are you going to activate these? And because you have to set them first, they have to be destroyed on the field. Double Cyclone. Simple as that. Double Cyclone. And this harkens back to Duel Links with as funny as it is, with Guns Blazing. You all remember Guns Blazing.
Sonic Boom!
Playing a lot of the same things. We didn't have Double Cyclone, he had a different card, but Double Cyclone does this exact same thing. And it destroys your own card, and you're able to pop monsters on field pretty easily because these traps activate in graveyard. It doesn't matter if your opponent has Jinzo. So playing stuff like that is really nice. I've heard people also say playing Waking the Dragon, however, that does have to be removed by your opponent's card effect. So unfortunately, we're not going to be seeing too much of that unless more people start playing the Double Cyclone and Wild Tornado or other cards like that. Again, Wild Tornado doesn't really pop off Waking the Dragon, but the Double Cyclone will, right? Other than that, though, it's really hard. It's also nice sometimes to also have your opponent Night Beam your stuff because the effects will still go off in graveyard. With that being said, Jinzo is going to be really interesting for the fact that it's going to create a new format, especially on Dueling Book, right? Really great. Can't wait to see how we play these next 3 to 4 months. And again, this becomes legal, I believe August 1st is when the new thing comes out. Don't quote me on that. I'll fix it if it's not right. But I believe it's August 1st. But with that being said, can't wait to see what happens. Can't wait to do more videos on this and actually show you guys, some of the decks that we build. I'm already working on anti-Jinzo / Dark Moth, because again, those are going to be the 2 best decks. Working on those things specifically, and even Inner Conflict. Anything that plays Jinzo is basically what I'm working right now. Decks that I'm building to play against that. So basically anti-meta. And this could possibly be the first time that we actually see anti-meta decks actually being played in speed duels. I know some people would argue that maybe we saw that with certain decks, like some people would argue that maybe Relinquished at the very beginning of speed duels could possibly be considered an anti-meta deck. It's debatable. I don't think it is, but it's debatable. But actually seeing a real anti-meta deck would be really interesting in speed duels for sure. So overall, I think a lot of the decks stay. You do get the addition of Spellproof Armor decks for an exchange for burn decks, unfortunately. But, I guess it evens itself out pretty well. So with that being said, guys, let me know what you guys think. How's this format going to be different? Are you going to enjoy this format? Are you ready for it? Are you excited for it? Are you going to hate it? Let me know down in the comments below. And with that being said, I think that's going to be it for me. Don't forget to check out our Discord, link down in the description. Don't forget to check out, I'll link other people's Discords, Curse of Yu-Gi-Oh! I think I'll only link Curse of Yu-Gi-Oh! Because a lot of the other links for other Discords are down in his Discord as well. So with that being said, I'll link everything there. But other than that, that's going to be it for me. Let me know what you guys think. And yeah, that's going to be it for me. Kevin with P.O.G. And until next time, guys. See ya.